What's up, everyone? I'm Jeff, and this is Are You Smarter Than a Libertarian? And today we are breaking down one of the most controversial law enforcement shootings in recent years. You've probably seen it all over TikTok, YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, wherever. And that is the January 7th, 2026 ICE shooting in Minneapolis that left 37-year-old U.S. citizen Renee Nicole Good dead. And before the internet decides this is either an execution or a heroic act of self defense, let's slow down, enjoy a nice cup of tea, take a breath, and walk through what actually happened. Not vibes, not headlines, just evidence. So, here's what we know so far. And I'm shooting this video on the 11th of January. Around 9:30 a.m., ICE agents approached a maroon SUV near East 34th Street and Portland Avenue during an immigration enforcement operation. Renee Good was driving the vehicle. She was not the target of the operation, and she was a U.S. citizen. Now, I'm going to go into more detail about how I think the government could have handled it differently doing this operation, but we'll get to that at the end. Agent Jonathan Ross positioned himself in front of her SUV. Video shows him moving into the vehicle's path. Moments later, the SUV accelerates. Ross is struck or dragged and fires at least three shots into the vehicle, at least one of them being fatal, maybe all three making it fatal. Good is rushed to a hospital and later pronounced dead. There is also a dog in the back seat. Why would you bring your dog to a protest? But okay, we'll just keep going right along with that line of thought. Within hours, the Democratic mayor and state officials in Minneapolis condemned the shooting as reckless. Protests began that same night. Wow, it's almost like this is going to be 2020, the summer of love all over again, where cities burn, particularly Minneapolis. Hmm. Now, here is where things split. You know, you're going down the road and then you go right or left. Well, the left leaning media immediately framed the incident as ICE overreach and excessive force. Headlines emphasize the confusion, the poor tactics, and the federal abuse of power. Now, we've gone down the left side. Let's back up and go down and see how the right side is putting this. Right leaning outlets focused on the video, especially the body cam footage released days later showing the SUV accelerating directly towards Ross. Their conclusion was simple: vehicular assault equals self defense. Now, you know that old saying that the left and right are wrong and the truth is usually somewhere in the middle? That's where it's going to end up. Just watch. Centrist outlets did what others mostly did not. They stuck to the timeline. They confirmed the joint FBI and Minnesota Bureau of Criminal Apprehension investigation. They reminded everyone that no charges have been filed and that all evidence still matters. But people on the right or left don't really care about evidence. As long as it's a good story that riles people's emotions, they'll promote it. Hmm. By January 9th, a longer point of view video surfaced showing the minutes before the shooting. That video intensified everything. Nationwide protests exploded. Over 1,000 demonstrations across the country. Some states even began discussing limits on ICE cooperation. And that's a whole nother video I'm going to get into next week about the state's relationship with ICE and the federal government when it comes to immigration. So, what is the actual legal question here? Under Minnesota law, self defense requires a reasonable belief that imminent death or great bodily harm. And here's the key part: the law does not allow hindsight, and we all know hindsight's 2020. You judge the moment, not the outcome. And we need to understand this. You have to judge it in the moment. What would a reasonable person do? If a vehicle is coming at me, regardless of whether I'm in the way or not, if I'm going to do what I have to do to protect myself. That means the investigation comes down to this and this only. Did Agent Ross reasonably believe he was about to be killed or seriously injured when that vehicle accelerated? That's the only question we need to ask. And that is not a political question, it is a legal one. But everyone wants to make everything political because it's so easy to get people riled up on both the right and the left, and it's hilarious to me. And this is where libertarians tend to annoy everyone, and I exceed, and I do it exceedingly well because I call out both sides because both sides only care about emotions. If the agent intentionally placed himself in harm's way, that matters. If the driver intentionally tried to run him down, that matters too. Government power should be restrained, and so should violence on all sides. That's a violation of the non aggression principle. You don't get justice by pretending facts only exist on your side. The right and the left do this almost incessantly. If you want accountability, which I think we should all want accountability for how the government uses our tax dollars that they steal from us, you have to be willing to wait for evidence, not just amplify whatever clip supports your ideology. That is called confirmation bias. So here is my question to you, all the people that comment, like, subscribe, share. Was this justified self defense, reckless enforcement, or something in between? Now, I have a view that we could have dealt with this differently, but drop your thoughts in the comment, and here's my thoughts on this. I should have cordoned off the entire street to keep civilians out of the operational area. They didn't. That is a government oversight. There should be no way you're conducting a law enforcement operation and you do not have control of the scene. That's a problem. And that's my take on it. Now, leave a comment. I will respond to all comments. And if you enjoy this content, please comment, subscribe, and share this out to people who want to think critically. So until next Monday, stay free, stay informed, and stay accountable. Have a great week.